Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a close look at a World Bank report from March 2025. It focuses on Edo State in Nigeria, and it's really about how this region, which was facing some, well, pretty big educational hurdles, managed to pull off some significant reforms.
That's right. And it's compelling because, across much of Africa, there are still these really fundamental learning crises happening. Edo State kind of emerges as this powerful case study of system-wide change. It offers some real lessons, I think.
Exactly. So for you listening, if you're interested in how large-scale change actually happens on the ground, particularly in, let's say, complex settings, this should give you maybe some surprising insights. Okay, so let's dive in. What was the picture in Edo State before, say, 2018? What were they actually up against?
Well, the report paints a pretty stark picture, actually. You had low quality of teaching overall, learning materials weren't really effective, and teacher absenteeism was incredibly high, something like 63%.
63%, wow.
Yeah. And the main consequence, the real bottom line, was just poor learning outcomes. Kids weren't getting the basics.
That sounds like a massive systemic problem. So how do they even start to, tackle that? What was the plan?
They went for a really comprehensive model. A key part was structured pedagogy.
Structured pedagogy, meaning?
Basically, yeah, teachers using clear, sort of pre-planned lesson guides for every day. Scripted lessons, essentially.
Okay, so providing a clear framework.
Right. Consistency. And alongside that, a big investment in teacher coaching. Regular classroom visits, feedback, support.
So structure plus continuous support for the teachers themselves.
Oh.
Makes sense. What else?
Technology played a big role. They brought in real-time performance monitoring. Teachers got tablets, and there were these digital dashboards.
Dashboards? For what?
To track things happening in the classrooms, like, is the teacher there? Are they delivering the lesson? It generated a lot of data.
Data for decision making.
Exactly. And they also worked on strengthening school leadership, getting principals more involved, and making sure training was coordinated across the board. It was really about making the whole system work together, the support, the teaching, the data, everything aligned.
Right. So not just piecemeal changes, but a full system approach. Okay, so this has been going on for about 6 years. What happened? Did it actually move the needle on student learning?
It seems so. The report highlights some really positive results. Between 2021 and 2023, learning outcomes improved significantly. You saw verbal reasoning scores climb by 13.3%, quantitative reasoning up by 12.5%.
Those are pretty solid gains in just a couple of years.
They really are.
And I think you mentioned absenteeism earlier. Did that change?
Huge change there. Teacher attendance jumped from that 63% baseline up to 82%.
Much better. So kids are getting more consistent teaching time.
Definitely. And here's something quite remarkable. The cost efficiency improved dramatically. The cost per pupil actually dropped from around $65 down to just $16.
Whoa, wait. Better results and it costs less per student? How did they manage that?
That's the efficiency gain. Better resource use, less waste, more focus.
Okay, so what really drove this success? What were the key ingredients?
Well, the report points to a few things. Definitely the sustained investment in teachers, that coaching and development for over 16,000 educators was critical.
Supporting the workforce.
Right. Also, the partnership model they used. It was a public-private partnership. This allowed the government to keep ownership, but bring in technical expertise to, implement things quickly and adapt as needed.
Interesting. So government leading, but using external know-how.
Yes. And the report stresses sustained political commitment was absolutely vital. Can't do this without backing from the top. That, plus having those structured tools like the lesson plans and tablets, and crucially, being willing to adapt based on the data coming in.
So it's that combination. Political will, investing in people, smart partnerships, using data, and being flexible.
Pretty much sums it up.
What's the bigger message here then? For education leaders, maybe in Nigeria or even across Africa looking at this?
I think the core message is put learning outcomes front and center. That has to be the main goal. And really use it to understand what's going on and to see if what you're doing is actually working. Build systems for reform that can last, not just quick fixes.
Yeah, it really feels like the Edo State story shows that real transformation is possible, even with big challenges. If you have that focus, that data-driven approach, support your teachers properly, and use partnerships smartly.
Exactly. It's a powerful reminder that foundational change can happen.
Definitely. So it leaves us with something to think about, perhaps for you listening too. Considering Edo State's success, what are those absolutely crucial things, maybe the ones we often overlook, needed for big positive change in any complex system?
Hmm.
And how do you actually make those elements work effectively when you're dealing with very different cultures and economic situations? Something to mull over. Thanks for exploring this deep dive with us.